Okay, so now that the lady has told us that it's being recorded, I think we'll get started. And I believe that my screen is up on my screen is up on your screen, so you can see our slide. This is Laura Mosher, a reference librarian and the cadet engagement librarian here at the United States Military Academy. I'm also a liaison to our civil and mechanical engineering department and our math department. And this morning, apropos of the weather, I was at a meeting with our Nordic ski team because I am also an advisor to them. And so we are happy that there's some winter weather out there so that we can actually get our skis out and do some skiing. So all that being said, we are here. My colleague, Alicia Mauldin-Ware, who is lit up very dramatically in her office. I love the light effects that are happening there. She's going to stay silent because there's a lot going on over in special collections and archives right now. But once we get to the part where she has valuable information to share, I'm going to throw it over to her and she will turn on her mic and join the conversation. So we are here to talk about building relationships using archives and special collections. And it is something that we have developed I would say probably, I've been here now for almost 19 years. And Alicia, probably close to the same, if not exactly the same or longer. And I will say that we have done over these last 20 years a lot of improvement and innovation in how we reach out to cadets and faculty. And one of the things that we have developed, and I would say probably the last 5 or 6 years, very strongly, is this building relationships with faculty using our unique materials, and then with cadets, as you'll see as we go forward. So we are going to talk about this and how we leverage these great materials in our archives and special collections to engage with faculty members and build the relationships with our academic community that result in lots of benefits, dividends to our cadets. So the U.S. Military Academy at West Point's mission is to educate, train, and inspire the Corps of Cadets so that each graduate is a commissioned leader of character committed to the values of duty, honor, country, and prepared for a career of professional excellence and service to the nation as an officer in the United States Army. That is the Kool-Aid here. And to some degree, we all have a serving of that. Most of us here at the library are civilians. We do have at least one graduate of the Academy who's on our staff, Dan, and he's great because he can relate to the cadets in a whole different way than we can. But we are one big happy family here, civilian, military, all working towards that same mission. In concert with that mission, at the United States Military Academy Library, we have a mission of our own to empower our cadets, faculty, and staff to be leaders of distinction in scholarship and research by providing teaching and expertise in the discovery and application of scholarly information, access to information supporting the curriculum and independent research, and a place to engage with knowledge, ideas, and one another. And I will say, after coming in this morning, this is the first day of our finals week. And the first part of this day does not have any finals scheduled. The exams start this afternoon. The library is hopping with cadets. They are full. They're all over the place. They are studying, they are working, they are getting ready. They are actually, and I saw a shout out to Lori in the chat, they are actually getting a chance to pet some therapy dogs too, because as our sign says, as Lori has worked out, T's, our term end exams, our finals here at West Point. T's are rough. You got to go talk to a doggy for a while. So we've got a lot of cadets loving up the dogs. So here in our location, there was an Army post as far back as the Revolutionary War, and a library was always part of that post. The United States Military Academy itself was established by Thomas Jefferson in 1802, and the first class of the Academy graduated 2 students, but we have grown significantly over the years. Our current student enrollment set by Congress is 4,400 cadets, so we're a fairly small liberal arts institution. We're known as America's first school of engineering And many people think of it that way, but our curriculum is truly broadly liberal in that all our students take the same 37 courses ranging from English to psychology to international relations, and then specialize in one of 26 academic majors, from engineering to history to terrorism studies to kinesiology in our Department of Physical Education, across 13 different academic departments with their remaining courses. Of course, most of the work we do is centered on those cadets, teaching information literacy, providing course and assignment specific library resource instruction, and helping with all manner of research for the work they do as cadets. But our community includes our faculty as well, and we don't neglect them. So I'm going to move to slide 2, which you should see now, and we talk a little bit about the faculty. So unlike a lot of colleges that maybe have representatives here in the presentation today, we have a very fluid faculty community. One of the most important things that we do here as liaisons is the new instructor orientation. And we do that for a specific reason. So you can see on the slide a little information about the faculty composition here at West Point. Approximately 18% of our faculty is made up of senior military personnel. 55% are junior military, and 27% are civilian, both senior and junior. And you can see here on my notes on the slide that a lot of people cycle in and out of West Point every 3 years. It's a challenging mix of people and cultures. One of our constants at West Point is change. Every summer, a significant number of faculty positions turn over as our junior rotating military faculty members either come to us from or leave us for the operational Army. In addition, many civilian postdocs or researchers and instructors on loan from other Army agencies come and go at regular intervals as well. Because of this, every academic department has a robust faculty onboarding program during the summer, and the library is always part of that. Many of the liaisons attend departmental sessions on teaching and operations, meeting and speaking with the new faculty members during their onboarding process, but we really sell ourselves and our library when we get them into our space. In addition to preparing materials for didn't flip my page over. So the new instructor orientation, or NIO, since everything in the Army has to have an acronym, brings the new faculty members into the library for an instruction session on our resources and services. We go over the ways we support cadets from their freshman year as plebes all the way through their senior year as firsties, with classes targeted to specific courses and assignments, programs aimed at getting the plebes paired up with a personal librarian to make sure they have a friendly face in the library, and subject specialty librarians who assist with specialized research for capstone projects and independent studies that cadets complete during their senior year in many of the academic majors. We also discuss the ways we support them as instructors when we're talking to them as we get them for their NIO. We're available for information literacy programs and instruction in any of their classes. We're ready to assist with curriculum mapping to ensure that information literacy concepts and skills map to the outcomes their cadets are expected to achieve. And we can assist them with getting materials they need for their own research and support their teaching. And the final treat for these new faculty members is a stop in our archives and special collections reading room. And now is the time where I say, hey, you're up, Alicia, because she's going to talk about that aspect of our library.
I'm so glad that all you guys came out today virtually for us. And so I just want to kind of give you a sense or a little glimpse or piece of pie of what our faculty would see when they actually come in. So we really take the time to pounce, I say that nicely, onto our new instructors when they come in. This is our one time to be able to get buy-in from them. And so we have 3 collections over in special collection and archives, or archives and special collections, whatever you would like to call it. So here we have archives. We also have rare books, and then we have our manuscript collection. So there's 3 individual collections that are here. So when we look at manuscript collections, we like to ask the instructor, so what do you think compiles manuscripts? And a lot of them ponder, but some of them get it right away because they've done some research and they realize that it's at hand, pen at hand. So personal papers, things that have been donated. So it's a really eclectic kind of collection. which is much appreciated though. And then we also have rare books. So our rare books consist of some very old books, some very old engineering books in French. We also have some very modern books. We have textbooks. The rare book collection runs the gamut. Then we have our archives collection. And archives collection holds my heart because I'm the archivist. And I will tell you it's the best collection, but you'll see why they're all here together. So I'll play nicely today. The archives is actually part of the National Archives, which is Record Group 404. And it consists of the administrative records of the Academy. And we're lucky to have them here. We were the first affiliated archives. And so we beat Navy over the weekend, and we beat them. So we're lucky that when a student comes or if a instructor comes, they can look at all three collections, which I mentioned, the manuscript and the rare book collection, and they can compile a really good, if they're doing a subject per se, for example, if they're wanting to look at land use at the Academy, we can look through all three of those collections and find material pretty much relating to all of it in some kind of way, whether it be someone hand surveying that might be in the manuscript collection, or it might be official records where we actually took possession of land. So you see that there's a good reason why that the National Archives material is here. And that is because all three collections work together. And it works best here. And it's a convenience for the researchers to actually look at the material here. So that's about the collections. They're all organized very differently. So with our archives is hierarchical. So I like to tell people when they hear that, like, think of the president of a college and then think of the dean. So you think of kind of like that scaffolding. When you think of rare books, of course, doing a shout out for all those catalogers out there. They're cataloging those rare books. Some of them are unique, so they're getting some original cataloging. And so shout out to our special collection and special catalogers out there. And it's most needed. And then with manuscripts, they had to be appraised and looked at. And our manuscripts here are arranged alphabetically, so by author. So that gives you kind of a glimpse of how things are arranged here. I already mentioned before that we're part of the National Archives. And I like to tell people when they're trying to find material in the National Archives, especially our collection, RG404, it can be kind of intimidating. But we have a great team, a committee that is actually working, and I'm excited about a project that we're doing that pretty soon. That will not be, I will not need to hold your hand to get you to select material. You'll actually be able to select material on your own. We're working on a database that is going to, a cataloging, I should say, thing that's going to actually blow our minds away. And I'm so excited about that. And so how do we keep these things safe? We have closed stacks. So closed stacks means that when you come into the archives, you can't just randomly go and say, hey, I'm going to pick up this book from the 1500s. No, we're sorry, you cannot. Material has to be actually prepared for you. And we also use a very sophisticated system that allows us to check in and check out the material. So when you come here, you have to have a separate patron record for the system that we use. So a researcher would register in our system, which is called Aon. They would make an appointment first. So that's another thing, you just can't walk in. Appointments for outside researchers are in effect. And you also have to have some conversation, some dialogue. As I said, that is needed because we are pulling the material for you. So it's a very unique experience. We also will teach you how to handle the material. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, right? Because with the library, our circulating collection, you can just go to the shelf, pull what you want out, and begin to read. That is not the case here, my friend. When you come to our collection, someone will actually pull the material out. You can only typically use one record, textbook, or whatever you're that you're using at the time at once. whether it be we're serving you just one box out of maybe a collection of 20, or we're serving you one bound volume. And the reason we do this is because we're securing the material. Unfortunately, there are a lot of bad actors out there that will actually cease on taking archival material and special collection material. So that's one of the things that we always tell people. You're not allowed to have food here. Over in our library across the street, we have a lovely cafe and with lovely coffee. But when you come here, no food or drinks are you allowed to have here. We have a separate place where you actually put your belongings. So you're only allowed to have your laptop or something at the desk. And this is all for security purposes. And it's what you will find in most archives. If you were to get an appointment here, one of the things that our technicians will do, shout out to Corey and Kristen, they will actually send you the rules of, so that you're not coming off guard. We like to prepare you. So we're going to tell you what you can do and what you can't do. So that's just a little glimpse into it. And also the way that we preserve the material is through digitization. Not all things, though, can be digitized. So we have some material, for example, that are tight bound volumes that we would not dare digitize because that would destroy the record or the individual artifact. Our goal is, as all libraries and special collections, is that we try to share the material as much as we can. But we are very conscious of material that will be damaged. So it's not an automatic thing. I know we live in a digital world, and a lot of people will say, oh, just digitize that for me and send it. Each thing goes under review before we actually digitize it. And it's not just one person. It's almost done by committee. We talk about it, we talk about the risk and assess the damage of things that we're considering to digitize. But we do have on our library page, and you're welcome to visit it, we have some digital collections that are there. And those were kind of some of our first fruit of our labors, actually. And so you'll see some of the official records and some other things that can get researchers on the path to researching some things in the archives. And there's also some little special collection stuff as far as map drawings and things of that nature. But the ideal is the material that has been digitized will start you. A lot of times, if you go deeper into a subject, you will have to come here. For most people, though, the stuff that's digitized, they're happy enough with it. Others, if you're doing a thesis, you're going to have to come in, and we have cadets that come in as well as instructors that come in, as well as outside researchers that come in as well. And I think Laura is going to talk about the preparation of the new instructor orientation.
So yes, I have to unmute and then I have to move the slide. There we go. So in preparation for new instructor orientation, each of us liaisons works with the counterpart in our archives and special collections staff to have materials relevant to their discipline available for them to examine. When I prepare for my NIO for our new civil and mechanical engineering faculty members, I choose materials that resonate with them. So we're pulling diagrams and drawings of architecture and engineering structures and bridges and machine parts, maps, certainly of the environs here at West Point. We have some really great maps, and in a future slide here, you'll see in just a moment a few examples of some of these great drawings. So we have, as Alicia talked about, the three parts of the collection: the archives, the rare books, and the manuscripts. So in the archives, we have history of West Point itself, and there may be some engineering documentation in there. Who taught here? Who were our faculty members? What did they write? We have some of their rare books in our collections, in our rare book collection. And then we have these manuscripts that include those drawings, right? Textbooks that were used back in the day to teach, letters and other ephemera that speak to the concerns of students that were taking science and engineering classes. So those are the kind of great things that I have pulled for my faculty to take a look at. But my colleagues in the liberal arts disciplines also have similar things, but they pull up different kinds of documents that reflect the kind of work that has been done in, say, for example, English or social sciences, the history of West Point for sure. So while we have this slide up for you to look at some of our faculty meeting with us in special collections and some of our distinguished guests, I will let Alicia talk about deciding the materials and how we manage that process, and about the special guests that you see in some of these slides.
So I think it would be fun to have you guys look at that slide. And if you can recognize some of those VIPs that are there, that I see two. And so while I talk, why don't you guys just post it in the chat if you can recognize them. And I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we brainstorm to get the perfect exhibit out for them. So when we're having a VIP, I don't know, someone who's really good in law, we might go to material that we have in our law department, and we will brainstorm that. Now, that's not to say that we're just picking and pulling archival material, because that was not the case. We actually pulled some rare book materials concerning law, as well as manuscripts. And this particular woman was very interested in some of the letters that she read, and it gave her great joy. So I'm going to let you guys ponder on who that might be. She's actually standing with our law liaison, and that's Miss Christoph that she's standing with. And then we also have someone who's a brilliant writer. I don't know, you might be able to see him there. But he actually came, and he had a great interest in Grant. And so with those two, knowing what they were interested in, the Archives and Special Collections staff got together and drew up a list of things that we thought they might be interested in. Now, when you think about the expertise that went into that, I can say, of course, I already told you my heart is with archives. So I can pull out 12,000 things, right? And so could the person who was knowledgeable about manuscript. Susan could have pulled out 20 million things. I mean, we could have filled all the tables that we had. But then there's a paring down process, right? Because when most VIPs, we have an optimum of maybe, as being generous when I say an hour. So you really want to hit them with things that we know they're interested in. So for the gentleman, as I said, he was interested in Grant. And he was interested in Grant because he loved the way that he actually wrote. And he actually read his memoirs. So we pulled out particular things related to Grant, some things that he wrote. In the manuscript collection, we actually have some of the letters, and I say letters, I'm almost like from that time period, posted cards, let's relate it to that, little post-its that we would put. And when he had throat cancer, of course, he could no longer speak. And he was writing messages on these little post-its and post-it little cards. And so we had those, and he was fascinated with the style in which Grant wrote. So he read those and was engulfed with that. He also, in the archive side, loved the order of his of the announcement of his death, and he took those things to heart. And it was a wonderful visit in the fact that we actually gave him what he was interested in. So it's important when you're compiling exhibits. I could have my favorite thing, but is that something that's going to draw the person of interest in? And so knowing a little bit of background about the individual is helpful. Now, for the other person, I don't know if you guessed the person or not. I'm still going to give you guys some time. She actually, as I said, was interested in law, and she was kind of involved in some pretty big cases. I don't know some of those cases, but people say that she was. But she was very, very knowledgeable, and she loved the time of looking at the old law. And what I found that when she was looking at that material, she actually began to teach us about some of that material. So the important thing that I want to bring out is that you want to depending on the faculty, the VIP person, you want to make sure that it's some material that they are comfortable with, material that they are interested with. And in those two particular visits, they were. I just want to also point out, so you'll see, as Laura said, that we have some of our liaisons in action there. There's Ms. McConnell, and there's also Ms. Gomez, who is the third picture in right in the center. You'll see her there, and she is actually, we love that picture. Laura and I were talking about that. But she actually is also our exhibit librarian. And so she has some insights to also to what people are interested in. We work with her quite a bit to get the materials that are over in Special Collection Archives represented over in Jefferson Hall. One of the things that we did not mention is that Special Collection Archives, we are actually in a separate building. So Lisa, Ms. Gomez, has a unique opportunity where she will use, she will take some of the images, some of the artifacts and things over to Jefferson Hall and highlight them over there so that we get some exposure, so the cadets get the exposure as well as our faculty. But VIPs, when they come over, they actually get like a private showing, which is quite nice. So they get the showing, they actually get to be involved and talk with the individuals a lot of time who have pulled the material as well. So that's just a fun fact about that. And the managing of the process, as I said before, is really personalized for those particular things. They are very personalized. We also do very general exhibits. So we'll do some exhibits when we know that a class is coming in. And when I say general, we're catering them to that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we also have some digital exhibits that you can also look at online. So once again, if you were to go to our website, you can see, for example, that our virtual class rings are there for now. And Ms. Gomez is really, really on top of that, where she will change our exhibits out quite a bit in our digital ones. So we have, right now, we're currently emphasizing the Civil War, West Point in the Civil War, as well as the ring collection. And Laura, I think I've done enough talking. I'll pass it back to you.
Again, I have to unmute. I got to remember I'm working on 2 different screens here with this, so forgive me for my HQ confusion. So yeah, so we did have a couple of people in the chat post the answers to our question, who were our VIP visitors. Thank you, Mary Elizabeth Schaub and John Damrow, for noticing the notorious RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she was visiting here. And also to my colleague, John Reeser, who it's fair for him to jump in because he was not here when Ta-Nehisi Coates came. So it wasn't a ringer. He wasn't a plant. He recognized him for sure. And that's him in the second photo there with Colonel Harper, the chair of our history department, I believe. So so you've got a couple of things going on there, and you see those people, and thanks, Alicia, for all of that. So on the next slide here, we've got some examples, because we're talking about what we're showing them, but we haven't shown you what we've shown them yet. So here we go. So these are some of the materials that we've displayed for some of our STEM departments, our science, technology, engineering departments. And what we've got here is a mix of resources from our archives and from our various special collections, including photographs of cadets. So that would be from our archives. Patton, so George Patton is a cadet up in the right-hand side. Cadets conducting experiments at the turn of the last century. So those are definitely from our archives collections. Textbooks and their illustrations from members of our faculty, Dennis Hart Mahan and Peter Mikey. Of course, here at West Point, if you've ever visited, you know that our football stadium is named Mikey Stadium, and our engineering building is named Mahan Hall. So there's a lot of naming opportunities here for the historic figures of West Point. We also have lots of drawings by cadets, including an architectural sketch by Hannibal Day and a map of West Point by Cadet Chapman. So that map in the upper left-hand corner from 1830, I have to say that if you look at that book or that map and you have been to West Point, you can recognize a few of the buildings and certainly a lot of that shoreline. Those features and some of those buildings still exist today. We also bring out letters and diaries of past cadets, especially when they wrote about their classes. Grant and Cullum both wrote home about their physics lessons. And Cullum, who was a superintendent here and very involved in the history here of West Point, he wrote on his physics letter home in the lower left-hand or lower right-hand corner, I am now studying the power of all kinds of forces. I cannot find one sufficiently powerful to prevent my eyes from closing. So apparently he found physics a little bit boring, but that's okay. A lot of other people here love physics. In addition to preparing materials for the new faculty to view, we also created some special displays for specific events. Alicia talked about a few of those things, but I'll talk about one that I did specifically. I did a short presentation at the American Society or American Association of Engineering Education. Oh no, it is the American Society, forgive me, of Engineering Education, Engineering Librarians Conference. It's an organization to which I belong, and a lot of our faculty also belong to that. ASEE is all about teaching engineering. And so it is a great opportunity for both faculty members and librarians who work in STEM fields to further their professional experience and contacts. So on this topic, I did a lightning talk at one of our conferences talking about engaging faculty and cadets with unique materials. So I used almost exactly this slide. And I have used these materials and slides like this in preparation for our ABET review and reaccreditation when during COVID, our accreditation visit took place virtually. And so I actually made a video that showcased a lot of these materials. And we have the exhibits that Alicia referred to, our ring exhibit and our Civil War exhibit that are accessible from our library website. So, and I will throw it now back to Alicia so she can talk about her experience with her faculty. She had served as the liaison to the Department of Geography and Environmental Engineering. And I know she did a lot of work with them. So I'm going to let her describe some of that.
Thanks, Laura. So how many of you, I don't know how many of you are liaisons or are trying to engage your departments. I want to say, first of all, congratulations for trying. And also, I know that it's hard work. Relationships are not built overnight. But it's important as liaisons and as librarians, if we're trying to capture an audience, that we tend to cater to that audience, that we find out exactly what their needs are. And sometimes I'll say we get it right, and then sometimes it's a miss, but it's all a learning process. So with geography engineering, environmental engineering, I have been lucky to be their liaison, but the first year was pretty rough. The first year, our NIO folks came over and I gave them the whole, what I used to call a dog and pony show. And they said, yeah, that's beautiful. I had things like demerits and things of this nature, and they appeared to be very excited about what they saw. But I didn't get a return on that. So for me, I had to go back and reassess what was I doing wrong or what could I have done better. I strategically targeted specific courses. So I called up, we call them course directors here. And so I called them up and I asked them who were the new folks that were coming in. And they told me who they were. And then my next question was what are they going to teach? And with that little bit of information, I looked at our collections differently. I looked specifically on targeting materials that they would be interested in. So that one picture of Chapman's map, of course, came out because geography, one of the courses that they teach is cartography. And the gal that was coming in, the instructor, I had one that was starting with cartography. So I knew I wanted to be able to get classes from her. And one of the good things about, if you can get one person to buy in, the word will spread here. And I guarantee you that it probably will spread in your places as well. So I laid out these cartography things, and I will tell you, my background is not geography. So for those of you who are thinking, wow, well, she knew what to pull. I just knew, hey, I better pull some maps. So that's what I did. And I pulled some maps from that time period. I also asked our manuscript collection librarian at the time, what does she have in her collection that may bring some interest? And she had the oldest diary that we had here. And the fellow talked about the weather. He had a little thermometer, which was novel at the time. And I pulled that out. I also pulled out a map of West Point, because you know what? You had to pull out something, a huge map, so that when you see there, the Chapman map, it's important to let everybody know that that's a class assignment. That is a cadet that drew that. What I did was I also pulled out some syllabus from that time period, or not that time period, but around that time period, that talked about the different assignments and things that had to be done. So what I was doing was I was creating a shared space where the new officers that were coming in and new instructors that were coming in could actually talk among themselves about the material that they were seeing. They were the experts, and I knew they were the experts. My job was to be that fly on the wall, to be able to understand the next steps and to be able to negotiate for a class. So with cartography, the gal actually came to me and said, hey, this would be really good. I'm having a class. And this class, I would love if I can have them come in for an introduction. And I, of course, said yes, right? So we actually then began to collaborate. This was something that I knew that I wanted her to share her lesson plan for the day that she wanted. And then I began to write up a lesson plan. And we went back and forth with this lesson plan for quite a bit. Until we had it to a place where we were both in agreement. My goal was to have her use our collections in a way, and to have her permanently write this lesson plan into their course. That was my goal. So she brought her class in, and the cadets, of course, our cadets, like your students, they're of digital age. They were born digital when you think about it. I don't want to share my age, but I will tell you that I had a Macintosh computer, so I was semi-born in the digital age. But they truly have been born in the digital age. We have brought out things. For example, one time we brought out a newspaper, and the cadets were so fascinated with it, because how do they read newspapers now? They read them on their devices. So for them to actually turn a newspaper, to actually see an old newspaper, was an experience within itself. With that, the other thing that I wanted the instructor to do was to gauge from the cadets how effective the class was. And so we put together a survey that she provided with them at the end of the lesson. So this particular class here, they came twice. There were 75-minute classes. And the cartography, at the end of that, I throughout was asking them questions, but at the end of their 2 lessons, she actually dispensed like a little questionnaire that she then gave me feedback on. And then we, at that point, because she had 2 years, that's the other thing, you heard Laura talk about how our instructors change all the time. So she had a 2-year gig here. The second year, we actually implemented some of the changes that she put in, and she made sure that this particular lesson was written into her course. So that class, I believe, was a successful class. We also teach a class called Geographic Researching Methods. This class, the same thing happened. This particular instructor was actually bringing the new instructors over, heard and saw and looked at what was going on and decided that he wanted to engage his classes in that as well. Research methods class, actually, we meet 3 times with them. They're both 75-minute classes, 3 times. And so the first time they're introduced into handling. The second time, the handling of resources. The second time, they're actually doing some research. And the third time is kind of like a cleanup time where they're learning how to write citations. And so citations for the archival materials a little bit different than citations for, I should say, National Archives citations are a little bit different than what they're used to. So it's an opportunity for me as a liaison to be able to not only interact with the instructor, but also with the cadets. So this particular class has been also incorporated into their lesson plan and has been so for the past, I think, 5 or 6 years. And he's a great champion. So if you remember, I said in the very beginning, you want to get buy-in. So we got buy-in from, this is a permanent staff, I should say a permanent instructor. And he is a true advocate. We also, this year, we were able to have a class in land use. This particular gal, once again, this is the second time actually that she saw the collections. The first time as a new instructor, she was not hooked until she saw a colleague of hers who actually did the cartography class and saw how well the class went. This year she bought in and we did a land use class that was fantastic. And it was something that with land use I can speak a little bit about, although I do not, my background is not geography. I have a strong background on the planning board. And so she wanted me to talk about the aspect of the planning board as well as the land use. And so it was really truly, all 3 of the classes were the instructors allowed us to teach and they sat back, which is what I quite like about it. It was not a show and tell class. We were actually teaching them about the materials and the handling. So I believe I have covered and talked a bit about that, and I'm going to pass it back on to Laura.
Thanks, Alicia. I'm leaving this slide up because it is our last slide. And these are living examples of students, our cadets in archives and special collections, really engaging with these materials. So some of the excitement that they experience is generated because they are looking at people who were cadets before they got here, long ago. There's the history of the cadets writing home. Some of the things are still hot topics. The food's horrible, the weather's horrible, the classes are hard, we're lonesome, we miss our family, we miss our dogs, which is why we bring in the therapy dogs during Tea Week. All of those things are common threads throughout the history of West Point, and cadets can really get excited about, oh, look at this, back in the 1800s, back in the early 1900s, the cadets there they had the same problems we do. Things don't change. But then they get to look at the rare and the old materials and the things that tell them about the things that they are studying, like you've described, like Alicia described with her cartography classes and her land use classes. So in all of these ways, by first engaging with the faculty members in our new instructor orientations and showing them the great gems that we have in our archives and special collections, getting them excited about it so that they can create a class and work with us to do that, get their cadets excited about the material, get the cadets engaged in and taking charge of some of their own learning as they look at some of these great materials. It's a win-win. And that is what we were here to describe. So I hope that we've given you a really good introduction to how we do that. And at this point, I think we'll just ask if there are any questions. I've got the chat window up and I didn't see anybody write questions. So if you have anything and you'd like to ask, you can certainly unmute yourself and ask. So go right ahead and feel free.
And I would also too, I like the platform that we're in, that we're able to share. So if you have ideas on how to engage, I would love for you to share some of those. Perhaps it's something that we can implement here.
Now's your chance, folks, but it doesn't sound like anybody's stepping up. Ooh, was it hard getting buy-in from faculty? It is always hard getting buy-in from faculty, pretty much on anything. There have been times when I have been asked by my faculty members. In fact, it happened this year, not with my civil and mechanical engineering faculty members, but with the folks from math. They had a very, very tight schedule for onboarding their new faculty members. And I asked for and was given about an hour and a half of time for both the main library orientation, which gives them an exposure to how they look for resources, our catalog, our search tools, all the different databases and everything, and also enough time to get them over to ASC to look at some of those things. And I was riding high. I'm like, oh, this is great. We're going to have plenty of time. And about a week before the event, I got an email. Oh, we've got some conflicts, and our new faculty really have to get practice teaching. And so we'd like to make that optional and carve out the extra time. And boy, was I disappointed about that, because, their lack of planning was not really something I wanted to have reflected on. Hey, this is great stuff, and I want you to see it and know about it. But I really had to say, yes, let's do it this way. We'll make it optional. Please, I will have all the information out there. I'll have all that stuff. Anybody who's interested, even current faculty members, are welcome to come and join us. And so I got about 5 or 6 takers, but not a lot of new faculty. So I'll keep working on them for next year. So it's hard for me. It's hard all around. I will say that after a couple of years of doing it with civil and mechanical engineering, word has gotten out, and those folks, those faculty, really love showing up, and they ask for it. They look forward to it all the time. So I think for me, it's been you got to be consistent. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep talking it up, and let word of mouth really generate excitement. Alicia, do you have anything to offer?
So yeah, so what Laura said is absolutely correct. And I had the privilege of having an hour and a half, which is quite a bit for my NIO. This year, though, they had a new person that was doing it and said, hey, we're there. And I wrote back and I said to them, of course, we're happy to have you, but what would you like me to cut? The key word was cut. And miraculously, they said, oh no, ma'am, do you need that hour and a half? And I said, yes. And I said, yes, that would give me time. And I wind up having 2 hours this year. So I think that, as Laura said, we had the difficulty here that a lot of the staff changes. The people that actually put together our new officer orientation changes. And so if someone has not gotten the word like Laura's department has, and they're thinking of things to shave, of course, they're thinking that the library is the one thing that they want to shave. I'm here to tell them that the library is not the one thing they're going to shave. And so I will say to them, the key word is cut. What information would you like me to cut? And when I say that, because unfortunately, a lot of times the people that are planning it don't really know what we have. When they hear that word cut, they're afraid. And I have been successful. That's my little secret that I use. That word there tends to save me. Even when I'm over, if I happen to visit them at the time and they're, oh, I only have a half hour. So, okay, because sometimes we'll do something where we're just coming over to introduce ourselves, and I'll say, okay, so what would you like me not to include? The key word is not. because they want you to clue to everything. Oh, ma'am, I can spare another 10 or 15 minutes. Yes, you can. That shows how important they begin to realize when you say cut, because they have no idea that they're like, okay. And you see them listening intensely too. So now when you say that, then you need to make sure that you actually bring forth and make sure that you can fill that time, and you're not just filling it with void, that you're actually giving them information that they need. So that's my experience.
I see that there's another question. Carl has asked if we use the ACRL framework for information literacy as a tool for supporting curricula. And we do, in fact, do that. We do it, of course, in the classes that we do that are strictly information literacy focused, but we also do it in the archives and special collections classes. And before I get any deeper into that, I saw that Carolyn's hand was up. Are we running out of time, Carolyn? Do we need to worry about time?
We've got about 5 more minutes. I just applauding Alicia's technique of asking people what they want to cut. I love it.
Excellent,
I gotta see where I can integrate that into my life.
She's really good at that. That is a great talent of I'm not even bold enough to do that. Alicia she puts it right out there. So Alicia, can you speak at all to the ACRL framework in the classes that you have been involved in?
So I have used that. We a while ago, a couple of years ago, right, Lord, correct me if I'm wrong, started to implement that when we used to, before we got a hold of the framework, we're kind of all doing our own thing, right? Yes. And so therefore it was difficult, say, especially nowadays, heaven forbid, if you get COVID or something and someone has to cover for you, what are they teaching? Well, how are they teaching? So it was very important for us to begin to come up with lesson plans. And we also use those standards, right? And then we have a place that we actually where our lesson plans live, so we definitely, I have used them in my classes. And I have to say the first time that I actually used it was in the EB 367, that's the research and methods class, because I wanted to definitely get that right. And that lesson plan took a long time to write, but it was well worth it, because that was the plan. That particular class there was the class that if you go and you talk to this instructor, he tells all of the NIOs, because he comes in with them, he will tell them that they need to have a class here because of how we teach. So they're recognizing the value in the information that we're putting out based on the framework.
Yeah, I would point out, probably as we look at the resources that we have in ASC, the frame that talks about information creation as a process is very well demonstrated certainly by the archives and by our manuscript collections, and including the rare books, because we get to point out how some information perhaps has changed over time. The STEM fields, there's constant innovation in all of those. And so as we look at that, we can talk about how, archival information is something that is primary source material that they could refer to in certain contexts where they're looking for the historical context. And then when they look at how the textbooks and the reference materials have changed over time, they can see that process continuing. And all of the time that they come over to archives and special collections, one of the things that we emphasize, especially with the archives and the information about cadets and the correspondence and all, is that they themselves, the things that they create, the life that they live, the manuscripts that they eventually give to us, the collections they give to us after their successful career in the Army, will become part of our collection as well. Therefore, they are going to become part of history. They're going to create that knowledge and become part of history here at West Point. So that feels like a good place to wrap it up, unless there's any other questions. Thank you for both of those. Really appreciate that. Oh, Carolyn's pushed the evaluation out. Excellent. I guess it's official.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to forget before people sign off because we're on the hour. There is the evaluation and also the CE certificate request form if
Thanks.
anyone wants
Yeah,
to
that's great.
collect those. But yeah, this is great. Thank you so much. Not seeing anything else in the chat, so I'll just give you a round of applause.
Thank you.
And
Thanks everybody for joining us.
do we have your contact information if we want to get more information or like
Oh,
come visit?
sure. How is that best delivered? Let's do, I can type in my email and make sure that I spelled everything right, which I did not. Let me fix that. And that's me.
Awesome.
All right,
Great.
hold
So
on. I'll
reach
pop
out if
mine
you
in
like.
too.
Okay. Thanks, Alicia.
All right. Well, I hope that everybody's commutes home are uneventful as your commutes in.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll see you all again, you know, in the coming year.
Absolutely.
Yes. Happy holidays, everyone.
All
Take
right.
care.
Take
Yep.
care. Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Carolyn.
I'm just making sure to save my stuff.
Yeah, I stopped sharing the screen, but